Hello and welcome back to Realize Displays Training. Today in this tutorial we will go through the News app, the RSS feed app, as well as the Slideshow. We're going to change up our template a little bit for this demonstration. We'll be creating a directory board that will be portrait mode. So we are going to go ahead and change our portrait mode orientation by clicking Page Properties. That's this gear in the bottom left of our canvas. And then there's a drop down where we can choose different formats for creating our slides. We're going to choose the 9:16 vertical, and the 4:3 horizontal is essentially just a square if you are using an old TV monitor. And you'll notice our entire canvas is now very tall, and this will match very nicely with any display that is mounted portrait mode. We'll come back in just a second and I will fill in all the rest of the content so that we can add our apps. Okay, so we've added in our content and created a nice section. Here is our directory board. A nice vertical template where a picture of our building and our tenants are. We made this just with our simple table. You can catch how to create this in a previous video that we have created. And what we want to do is add a couple of news sections to the top of our directory board so people can see current events. And we'll also add in a slideshow that will show different amenities or different rooms within our building. Let's go ahead and open up our app panel. The easiest news feed that you can add is called the actual news app. As soon as you drop it in, the great thing about this is that everything is already built in for you. You just need to click and select your country on the left side. Of course, we are in the United States, and then there are a variety of pre-built sources that you can pull your news from. Let's go ahead and let's select, where is it? Let's select Reuters for now. I think no matter what, we're probably not going to like the news that we see, but it's good to keep up with current events. So let's go ahead and reduce our text size so that we can see all of our content. And you'll notice that what happens is when the text overflows, it will start to scroll. And once it scrolls, it will then reset itself back to the top, showing the next news story. All of our apps, or most of them, have a little refresh button here. So for whatever reason, if you would like to see the most current content, you can always click this refresh button. And now it will then bring up, in this case, it will just keep bringing up different news stories. And keep in mind, this keeps itself up to date. So as the day goes on, you can select how old you would like your news stories to be. So there is a maximum age of articles. You can choose ones typically within a day or two is totally fine. And then in this, you can also select between a single message, which is this paragraph format, or a ticker type format. So if you wanted to actually have a scrollable news, you can go ahead and make a nice long template, and then the news will scroll from right to left when it shows on the screen. Now keep in mind what I'm going to do is I'm going to also skip this part and the ticker section because these are most often used when you have a shared background. And a shared background is something that will give you continuity between your slides to allow your crawler to keep crawling as slides change, as your pages change. So as it is right now, we can always drop this in, but keep in mind if you have a page that changes, your crawler will refresh with every page change. That's why we use shared backgrounds. So we'll get into that in future videos that you can watch. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to set this back to the single message. We would like to create a nice zone for it, maybe over here. And we're going to make it kind of nice and small. And then sometimes it's a good idea just to maybe frame your content, give it a little structure by just typing in maybe even the news source. Give it a nice underline. Reduce the text size just a little bit. Okay, great. Now I'm going to pull this down and we're going to put it right above our news section. so that just close enough so it looks like the news actually scrolls right into the bottom of the line. Pretty simple. Of course, you can always, if you have a news source that has images, you can choose where you would like that image to come in. I don't believe this one does, but if you do, give yourself a little bit more space. Changing your text color and all the rest of the text options are also built into this as well, so you can play around to make it look nice on your template. Now, let's take a look at the next way to add a news feed, which is through an RSS feed. Go ahead and grab that and drop it right onto your template. Now, the RSS feed, the difference is that it does not come with any kind of pre-built feeds. So you will need to find an RSS feed, and all that is a link to a variety of news articles. And RSS is essentially just a format for articles to show up. The easiest thing that you can do is go to Google. Let's find one. Let's find a sports news RSS feed. So let's go to ESPN RSS. Type that directly into Google. And for large news sources, usually it's the very first item that pops up. You can go ahead and click on that. And what you're looking for is a link that looks like this. You can see a variety of different news sources have varieties of ways they break down their articles so that you can pull them in to different areas. So let's just take a look at the top headlines. Usually what I'll do is I'll click into it just to make sure I get to a garbled page like this. And all I want is this link at the top, because our display knows how to interpret all this, so we just need to copy the link to it. Go back to our directory page, and we're going to paste it into the web address of the RSS feed. Now I can press my refresh button. And an RSS can take just a minute or two sometimes to even come in, so just be patient with it. The articles will eventually show up here. You can also select the age of the articles as well. So let's go ahead and select maybe 2 days for this. We can include content, which allows the actual summary of the story to show up too. And then let's make it exactly the same size as our Reuters news, which is a 20-point font. So let's go ahead and just type in 20 here. Okay. So again, if you don't have anything that shows up, sometimes you can go ahead and just press that refresh button. And a lot of times, whenever you change a format, you may need to do that just to make sure that it populates the newest data. Now, as I press it, you can see that it is pulling the latest stories. And I would like these to line up actually very nicely. So let's go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste the Reuters news by pressing our Control-C and Control-V. We'll call this ESPN Sports. Now, one thing that I can do is if I look at the very bottom of our page, since I would like these to line up at exactly the same pixels, I can look at our Reuters news, make sure that's selected, and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And here's where I can see the Y position. That means that headline is set 340 pixels from the very top of our canvas. Now, to line everything up perfectly, I want my other headline, header, to be at 340 pixels as well. So if I put it anywhere, even up here, and I go down and I set the Y to 340, it will then set itself exactly to that same height. So now I know for sure that our headers are at exactly the same height. I can do the same for our news stories as well. They're at 377, so I will go back to this one and I will set this to 377. And what I'm doing is I'm waiting to click off of that to unselect it so that I can see it move right into the right place. Great. Pretty simple. So now let's look at how to add a slideshow of different amenities or different rooms for our directory board. I'm going to create a little bit more room here by maybe moving our directory header off to the side, and we're going to put them right here in the top right corner. The first thing I'm going to do is obviously open my apps, grab the Slideshow app and drop it right onto the canvas, size it and position it where I would like it to be. Now, how the Slideshow works is it's a very powerful tool. It will actually read all the images from a full folder that you have in your image catalog. So if you remember when we actually created or drop an image, it opens up your image catalog so you can select it. Well, this will open up the same exact image catalog, but now you can select a full folder from where to draw images. Let's go ahead and do that. So when I select my image folder, it's going to open up our catalog, and now I can select maybe our buildings folder that I have created before. And I can either upload more images here if I don't have all of them that I want, or if I'm ready to use this as a slideshow, I click Use Current Folder, and now our buildings will constantly loop in this top right section. Great. So you can see nothing happened because there is a play button here, and obviously if I press that, then it will give me a nice preview of the slideshow of our buildings. There's a couple other options we can look at here as well that are also nice for formatting. You can choose to play these in a random order, so if you don't want to see the same exact order, go ahead and press that. You can change the time that each image will hold before it moves on to the next one. And then sometimes it's nice to add a little border, which will literally frame each one of your pictures inside of the slideshow. And the best thing that I like to do is I highly recommend you add a transition, which you can either select fade or to rotate. A fade is a nice transition between each of your images. It's subtle and it makes everything look smooth and not choppy. As well as the rotate horizontally, you can see how those will work as well. It'll either go in a landscape format or going from bottom to top. Let's select fade for right now. And then finally, some other neat things that you can do to add almost a little bit of a 3D effect to your image slideshow. You can add what's called floating or having a curved bottom, and this will literally put a shadow underneath each one of your pictures. So let's go ahead and just select maybe floating, and you'll notice this small shadow that appears underneath each of our images now, almost giving them the appearance that they are floating. You can select either one of these that you like. I believe the lifted bottom is also kind of a nice one as well. It gives it a nice 3D effect. So this can be very helpful also for shared backgrounds, which we will cover this again if we want slideshows to keep looping as all of our slide playlists continue to play, so that we don't lose any continuity between any of our images in order. Hope that was helpful. Stay tuned for additional videos on the other apps that are available in your design builder.